Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one who just passed your MSF course 3 months ago, bought a 600, and is now absolutely convinced you're the second coming of Valentino Rossi because you made it through a roundabout without putting your foot down. I need you to sit down, take a deep breath, and listen very carefully. Because right now, today, in the year 2026, you have developed some absolutely catastrophic habits on that motorcycle. And if nobody tells you about them, the road eventually will. And the road is a much harsher teacher than I am. Now, I want to be upfront about something before we dive in. Everything I'm about to tell you today, I learned the hard way. Every single habit on this list is something I personally did, something I watched other riders do, or something I've seen send people sliding across asphalt on YouTube at 2 in the morning when I should have been asleep. So this isn't me standing on a mountain handing down commandments. This is me, a guy who has made every mistake imaginable on 2 wheels, trying to save you some skin. Literally. Hello everyone. My name is Carl, and welcome back to the channel where we talk about motorcycles, worship motorcycles, and occasionally make deeply questionable life decisions because of motorcycles. If you're new here, this is your official warning. It only gets worse from here, and you're going to love every second of it. Habit number 1, death gripping the handlebars. Okay, picture this. It's your first few months of riding. You're out on the street, traffic is moving around you, some guy in a pickup truck just merged a little too close for comfort, and without even realizing it, your hands have locked onto those handlebars like you are personally responsible for keeping them attached to the motorcycle. Your knuckles are white, your forearms are on fire, and you are squeezing that thing like it owes you money. This is called death gripping, and it is one of the most common beginner habits out there, and it is also one of the most dangerous. Here's the thing about motorcycles that nobody really tells you at first. The handlebar is a communication device. It is a two-way street between you and the road. The bike is constantly sending you tiny little signals through those bars about what the front tire is doing, what the road surface is like, whether something is about to go sideways. And when you are squeezing those bars with the grip strength of a man who just watched his fantasy football team collapse in the final quarter, you cannot feel any of that. You have cut off the conversation entirely. On top of that, a tense upper body transfers directly into the bike's handling. You start making small, jerky inputs without even knowing it. The bike gets nervous because you're nervous, and now you've got this feedback loop of anxiety happening at 60 miles per hour that nobody invited. The fix is almost annoyingly simple. Grip the bars like you're holding a screwdriver. Firm enough that it won't fly out of your hand, loose enough that you could wiggle your fingers if you wanted to. Your elbows should be slightly bent and relaxed. Your shoulders should be down, not up around your ears like you're bracing for a sneeze. Practice this in a parking lot. Ride slow figure eights and consciously think about loosening your grip. It feels terrifying at first because your brain is screaming at you to hold on tighter. Ignore your brain. Your brain is wrong. Loose hands, relaxed arms. Let the bike talk to you. It genuinely changes everything. Habit number 2, looking down at the front wheel. I'm going to say something that sounds so simple it almost feels insulting, but I promise you it is responsible for more beginner crashes than almost anything else on this list. Are you ready? Here it is. The motorcycle goes where you look. That's it. That's the whole thing. If you're looking down at your front wheel, which a shocking number of new riders do, especially during slow speed maneuvers, the bike is going to follow your gaze and do something you absolutely did not intend for it to do. Usually that means running wide, clipping a curb, or doing something embarrassing in a parking lot in front of people you definitely wanted to impress. This is not exclusive to motorcycles, by the way. It's the same reason that when you're learning to ski and someone tells you not to look at the tree, you immediately look directly at the tree. The body follows the eyes. Always. Without exception. No negotiations. On a motorcycle, your eyes need to be up and looking where you want to go. In a corner, you should be looking through the corner out toward the exit, almost before you even start turning. In slow speed maneuvers, pick a point in the distance and steer toward it. When you're navigating a tight U-turn, look over your shoulder toward where you want to end up, not down at the ground. The reason this habit develops in the first place is pretty understandable. When you're new and the bike feels big and wobbly and slightly terrifying, Staring at the front wheel feels like you're monitoring the situation. Like if you watch it hard enough, you can catch it before something goes wrong. But you can't. And you're actually making it worse. Eyes up, head up. Trust the process. And if you're the kind of person who is still looking at the front wheel after being told not to, well, I don't know what to tell you. We'll find a charity in your name eventually. Habit number 3, dragging the front brake in corners. All right, this is where we put the humor aside for a minute, because this one is genuinely serious, and I want you to understand it properly, because it has the potential to absolutely ruin your day in the most permanent way possible. When you are leaned over in a corner, the physics of what your tires are doing changes dramatically. Your contact patch, which is the amount of tire that is actually touching the road surface at any given moment, is already doing a significant amount of work just maintaining the lean angle and steering you through that corner. The tire is working, it is busy, it has a job. When you grab a fistful of front brake while the bike is leaned over in a corner, you're asking that already busy front tire to suddenly take on a massive additional load. And 9 times out of 10, it simply cannot do it. The front tire washes out from underneath you, and you are now sliding across the tarmac at whatever speed you were traveling, which is a deeply unpleasant experience that I can confirm from personal research. Okay, fine. I'm putting the humor back. The habit develops because braking feels intuitive. Something scary happens, your hands want to grab. In a car, grabbing the brake in a corner will upset the car, but usually not send it sliding instantly. On a bike, it's a completely different story. Now here's the nuance, because I don't want to scare you off braking entirely. Trail braking, which is the technique of very lightly maintaining a tiny bit of front brake pressure as you enter a corner, is actually an advanced technique used by experienced riders and track day enthusiasts to help settle the front end and tighten the line. But notice the word advanced. That is not what we are talking about here. What we are talking about is the panic grab, the oh no fistful of front brake that happens mid-corner. That is what kills people. The solution is to do all of your significant braking before you tip into the corner. Get your speed sorted while the bike is upright. Then lean in, maintain a steady throttle, or very gently roll it on, and let the bike do what it was engineered to do. If you get into a corner too hot and your instinct is to grab brake, do your absolute best to resist it. Stand the bike up slightly if you can, and brake in a more upright position. It is a skill. It takes practice. Go find a track day and learn it properly. Habit number 4, riding in the center of the lane. This one might surprise some of you because from the outside it seems totally logical. You're in a lane. You ride in the center of the lane. That's what cars do. What's the problem? The problem is that you are not a car, and the center of the lane, specifically the strip that runs right down the middle between the 2 tire tracks of every car that has ever used that road, is basically a greatest hits collection of everything you do not want your motorcycle tires to come into contact with. Think about what lives in the center of the lane. Oil drips from leaky engines, coolant from overheating cars, diesel spills, especially near truck stops and intersections, rubber deposits, random road debris. If you took a sample of the center strip of a busy intersection and looked at it under a microscope, it would look like a crime scene. For a car, this is a minor inconvenience at most. 4 tires, big contact patches, a few thousand pounds of metal. A little oil isn't going to suddenly send a Camry into the guardrail, but you on your 2 wheels with your comparatively tiny contact patches on a vehicle that is inherently balanced rather than structurally stable. That little patch of oil in the center of an intersection could be a very bad day. The habit to develop, and I know this feels counterintuitive, is to ride in either the left third or the right third of your lane, depending on the situation. Left third gives you better visibility around corners and creates distance from oncoming traffic. Right third is useful in other situations. The exact positioning changes based on what you're trying to see and where the threats are coming from. But the center, generally speaking, avoid it. The roads are built for cars, and they show it. Habit number 5, chopping the throttle mid-corner. If death gripping the handlebars is the most common beginner habit, then chopping the throttle mid-corner might genuinely be the most dangerous one on this entire list. And it's sneaky because it doesn't feel like a mistake when you do it. It feels like the responsible thing to do. Here's the scenario. You're going into a corner, you realize you're going in a little hotter than you wanted to, and your instinct says too fast, back off the throttle. So you do. You snap it shut. And suddenly the bike does something very alarming that beginners almost universally do not expect. When you chop the throttle abruptly mid-corner, the weight of the bike transfers dramatically forward onto the front tire. The rear of the bike lightens up. The suspension compresses at the front and extends at the rear. The geometry of the bike changes, and depending on the bike, the speed, and the corner, you can experience anything from a scary weave to a high side, which, for those who don't know, is when the rear of the bike loses traction, grips back up suddenly, and launches you skyward with tremendous enthusiasm. High sides are not fun. I've seen the videos. I do not recommend. The correct thing to do mid-corner when you've entered too fast is almost the opposite of what your instincts want. Maintain the throttle, look through the corner to the exit, and trust the bike. Motorcycles can corner faster than most beginners believe they can. The lean angles available to you on a modern motorcycle with decent tires are genuinely remarkable. Most of the time, when a new rider feels like they're going too fast in a corner, they actually have way more margin than they think. Now, that doesn't mean you should ride at 10/10 on a public road. You shouldn't. But it does mean that when you've overcooked it slightly, the answer is almost always smoother, not grabbier. Smooth throttle, eyes up, trust the bike. And for the love of all things sacred, please go watch Twist of the Wrist if you haven't already. It's old. The production value is somewhere between a school play and a local car dealership commercial from 1988, but the information in it will legitimately make you a better rider. No notes. Habit number 6, neglecting counter steering. Okay, hands up. How many of you at some point in your riding life believed that to turn right, you pushed right on the handlebar? No judgment. I believed it too, for an embarrassingly long time, actually. We don't need to discuss exactly how long. For anyone who isn't sure what counter steering is, here's the short version. On a motorcycle above roughly 15 to 20 miles per hour, you do not steer the bike by leaning or by turning the bars in the direction you want to go. You steer it by pressing forward on the handlebar on the side you want to turn toward. Push left, push right, go right. This initiates the lean that actually steers the motorcycle. It sounds backwards. It is backwards. It is also completely true and backed by more physics than I am qualified to fully explain to you. But trust me when I say that every professional rider, every racer, every instructor, and every long-distance veteran is using counter steering whether they're consciously thinking about it or not. The reason this is such a common neglected habit is that at low speeds, counter steering doesn't really apply. You're moving slow enough that normal handlebar inputs work fine. So beginners spend a lot of time riding slowly in parking lots, learning the bike, and developing instincts that work at low speed. Then they get onto the open road and start riding at real speeds, and those instincts don't translate cleanly. The good news is that once you start consciously practicing counter steering, it clicks incredibly fast. Go find an empty road or a big parking lot. Get up to about 30 miles per hour, press gently but deliberately on the left bar. Feel the bike lean left and turn left, then try the other side. You're going to have a moment of, oh, that's what they were talking about. That is genuinely one of the more satisfying moments in early riding. It feels like a cheat code. Once you've got it wired in consciously, it becomes completely automatic, and your cornering confidence goes through the roof almost overnight. Habit number 7, over-relying on the rear brake. This one comes with some important context, so stick with me here because the rear brake gets either way too much credit or way too little depending on who you're talking to and what kind of riding they do. For new riders, the rear brake often becomes the comfort brake, the safe brake, the one you reach for first because it's more forgiving. It doesn't cause that terrifying front-end dive and it just feels less dramatic. And there is absolutely a time and a place for the rear brake. Slow speed maneuvers, parking lots, dragging it gently to stabilize the bike, the technique we talked about earlier, all legitimate and genuinely useful. But here's where new riders go wrong. In an actual emergency stop, the kind where something jumps out in front of you and every cell in your body is screaming stop, 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 going heavy on the rear brake alone is not going to get you stopped anywhere near fast enough. The physics are not on your side. The front brake on a motorcycle provides somewhere in the range of 70 to 80% of your stopping power. This is because when you brake, weight transfers forward, increasing the load on the front tire and increasing its grip. The rear tire simultaneously lightens up, which means if you slam the rear brake hard in a panic stop, it locks up almost immediately, does very little to actually slow you down, and gives you a swinging rear end to deal with on top of your existing problems. Fantastic. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but the front brake is scary. What if the front wheel locks up? Valid concern. This is why you practice. The front brake needs to be applied progressively. You don't grab it, you squeeze it. Smoothly, with increasing pressure, giving the weight time to transfer forward and load up that front tire before you're asking it for maximum grip. Practiced correctly, it is your most powerful tool in an emergency. I'm not telling you to ignore the rear brake. Use both. But stop treating the front brake like it's dangerous and the rear brake like it's your best friend, because in an emergency, you're going to need that front brake, and you need to be comfortable with it before that moment arrives. Habit number 8, riding without a plan. This is the one that doesn't sound as exciting as the others. There's no physics, no dramatic crash scenario, no counterintuitive biomechanics to explain. And I think that's exactly why it's the one that most people skip over, ignore completely, and then pay for eventually. Riding without a plan means being a reactive rider. It means you're responding to what's happening around you rather than anticipating what's about to happen. And on a motorcycle, by the time something is happening, you often have a fraction of a second to respond. Reactive riding is not a strategy. It is just hoping that nothing goes wrong fast enough to hurt you, and it works right up until it doesn't. What does riding with a plan actually look like in practice? It's scanning intersections well before you reach them and identifying the car that looks like it's going to pull out. It's noticing the minivan that has been sitting at a side street for too long and slowing down slightly before you're even sure there's a problem. It's reading the road surface ahead of you so that you're not discovering that pothole at the same moment you're hitting it. It's positioning yourself in your lane before a corner so that your line is clean and your exit is visible. It's knowing where the nearest escape route is at all times. A lot of experienced riders do this so automatically that they don't even think of it as a plan. It's just riding. But it absolutely is a skill that was built deliberately over time, and the earlier you start building it, the better. The MSF course touches on this and calls it the SIPT process. Scan, identify, predict, decide, execute. It sounds like corporate training seminar material. I know, it kind of is, but it works. And when you start applying it consciously on every single ride, you will notice within a few weeks that you are a different rider. Calmer, more confident, less surprised by things, because you saw them coming. The habit is simple to describe and genuinely takes time to build, but here's the shortcut. Next time you're out riding, pick one intersection ahead of you and ask yourself, what could go wrong here? Every time, just one intersection at a time, build it gradually. Over time, it becomes second nature, and second nature on a motorcycle might just be the most valuable thing you can develop. And that is going to wrap up today's video, my beautiful two-wheeled children. 8 habits, all fixable, none of them requiring you to spend any money, just attention and practice and a willingness to be honest with yourself about the things you're doing wrong. Look, nobody starts riding and immediately does everything right. That's not how any skill works. The riders you look up to, the ones who make it look effortless, they have all done every single thing on this list at some point. The difference is they identified it, worked on it, and fixed it. And now they're out there making you feel bad about your cornering on Instagram. You'll get there. If you want to keep working on your riding, I've got a whole video on hand signals that pairs really well with this one, plus a breakdown of the most common types of motorcycles for anyone who's still figuring out what kind of bike actually suits them. Check those out. I've been told by multiple people that they're very good, and I tend to agree. Hit the like button if this helped you out. Drop a comment and tell me which habit on this list you're most guilty of. No judgment. This is a safe space. Mostly. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Come on. There's a bike giveaway happening right now, and you could be in it. I'll catch you in the next one. Ride safe. Rubber side down. Fact. The average beginner rider checks their mirrors approximately 0 times in the first 3 months of riding and approximately 400 times per ride after their first close call. Growth is beautiful. Goodbye.